Hello, welcome to Get Your Mind On. I'm Lori Stohs. Are you one of those individuals that are stimulated by being around other people? Never enough people. Parties are big, you love to meet people every day. Well, chances are you're an extrovert. Now again, we studied introverts last week and we're going to talk about extroverts this week. And again, nobody is a pure extrovert or pure introvert. You have to know and understand who you are. But the purpose of this today is just really to talk about the behaviors of extroverts and to know that if you're not one, kind of to understand who they are and how to work best with them or understand them. So extroverts get energized by people. No people are enough. They love meeting people. So even if you think about it, it's Friday night and those are the individuals that had a long week and it's raring to go and they're ready to see more people. Let's have a party. Let's get together. Let's go to the event. They're ready to go. Now that's an extrovert. Now again, not everybody's a full extrovert. Myself, by the time it's Friday night, even though I'm an extrovert, sometimes I might want to take some time to just meet with a few people because I've had a full week and I want to wind down. Even though I'm an extrovert, I still like that personal one-on-one or small group interaction. So you really have to find out what's best for you. But in general, extroverts do get energized by people. They love to be expressive. So where introverts stop and pause before they think, extroverts have a tendency to have a little bit more free-flowing conversation. They're talking, they're expressing themselves. You might find them backing up a little bit more in their words because they're like, oh yeah, well what I meant was, because they're flowing expressively, not as concrete about some of their things. They're a little bit more abstract in their thinking and their verbalizing. Also, they're much more emotional in terms of being able to express their emotions and speak about their emotions in words. They're okay to be caught off guard. They're the spontaneous one who calls you and say, hey, you want to go do this or you want to go do that? Or they'll be in the middle of a meeting and say, hey, why don't we do this? And so they're the ones who are really pulling people in. And they're the ones who are really connecting with people all the time. So when we think about extroverts, those of us who are extroverts, you think about that cup and it starts full in your day. Their cup gets fuller and fuller and fuller by adding more people, more expressiveness, more emotion to it. If they are put in an environment where that's not the case or it's not acceptable, that won't be good for an extrovert. Let me give you an example in a work environment where I was at. It was a group of actuaries. And most actuaries you would think, well, if you go to their type of work, most of them would be introverts. But I had one who was not an introvert. He was an extrovert, but he was still very smart. So for him, he would need to get up every so often. He'd start talking to people. Well, the rest of the working group wasn't that. And so they thought he was distracting and needs to really focus on his work and that kind of thing. Well, for him, he needed to get up and get energized because he was in a cubicle by himself. And after so much processing, he really needed to have some time to re-energize himself by going out and speak to people. So I helped to guide him to maybe go find a department of people who like to do that, like marketing, maybe, or sales, or a place that they like to be connecting with people all the time too, instead of distracting those who are not, as extroverted. So it's really understanding about you as an individual and those around you and what they need. So another way in terms of a work environment for extroverts, they are the people who love to be pulled in on meetings spontaneously. They're the ones that you can grab and say, hey, can we go do this? And usually they're pretty good, especially if there's going to be a group of people around them. Again, the worst thing to do for them would be to put them in a cubicle doing work all day long by themselves. And so hopefully if you're an extrovert, you haven't chosen a career like that. If you have, you might be feeling a little bit uncertain and disengaged, and really it might not be that you don't like the work, it might just be your interaction with the amount of people or spontaneity that you don't get. So what you do have a tendency to do is you have a tendency to go find that elsewhere. So like I said, at the end of a Friday night, if you haven't had enough, you really need a lot. But just go ask your extroverted friends, not your introverted friends, because they're probably home and wanting to be alone and have more of a quiet conversation that's deeper and meaningful. So for positive charge this week, I want you to think, are you an extrovert? If you are you getting enough of what you need? And for those who aren't extroverts, how do you really think about who those extroverts are and what they need as they need more of that people time? So again, our personalities are special and unique, and some of us are a little bit of both, and some of us are fully extroverts, fully introverts. Extroverts, you need that energy, you need that enthusiasm, you need that connection with people, you need to be able to verbalize your expressions. And so make sure you get that. And those of you who need to work with them, make sure you give them what you need, even though you need to be aware of what you need and have that conversation together. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to get your mind on.